The Mpeketoni attack by unknown gunmen who have been alleged to have been Al-Shabaab has caused a lot of uproar and outrage in the country. Everyone is grappling with the question, who masterminded the attack and what was the security arrangement to counter such an attack, which, according to some sources, was imminent. As we grapple with these questions, this morning we are hosting somebody who is well versed in security matters to help us to explore the possibilities, the possible causes of that attack, and explore the general insecurity in the country, and answer some of the begging questions which Kenyans are asking. Are our security organs capable of defending or protecting our property and lives? Colonel Benjamin Mwema is a politician, but he's here more as a security analyst and a person who has fair knowledge of the country, security issues in this country. Karibu, Colonel.
Thank you. Good morning, viewers.
Yes. Let's start with this attack. In the manner in which it was carried out, from a security perspective, is it possible that an attack like that would have happened without the knowledge of our security or intelligence services?
Well,
because that's the big question people are asking.
Firstly, before we get into that, I think as a nation we need to appreciate that security is a serious national issue that cannot and must never be politicized. So as we speak about this, we must take politics out of it and put it on the side. That is number one. Number two, our nation is at war. We are in Somalia. We are fighting a war to protect ourselves in this country. Now, when a nation is at war, everybody must rally together. We must show patriotism. We cannot be fighting when we have a war to fight. And therefore, we have to close ranks as Kenyans and say we must defend our country together. However, that does not preclude us as citizens questioning the capability of our security agencies.
Right.
So I think it is good to set
that context
the stage.
Is good.
That context is good. Now, if we now narrow down to the Mpeketoni issue, my view is that if the intelligence was there and if it was available, then it was not acted on. And if it was not there, then we have questions to ask as Kenyans why we pay so much for our intelligence services and they cannot give us the results that we desire to protect our citizens. That, I think, is the bottom line.
Let me go back to Westgate. When you attacked at Westgate, there was no rancor among ourselves, among our politicians. If anything, they did what we're asking for. We came together.
Close ranks.
We closed ranks and we saw the position and everybody going there, and we were united in that matter. Why is it there is difference now between this and Westgate, in your view?
Well, first of all, is the political climate within the country that affects the way people react and act. And what really happens in our country is every time we have a crisis of a terrorist nature, we get emotional, we throw brick bats, we point fingers, and when the dust settles, we don't sit down and find out what really happened. We don't try and fix the problems that are there within our security agencies. But let me just go back to Westgate. Now, after Westgate, a lot of finger pointing, as I've already said, ensued. And after that, some of us even made presentations to the parliamentary committee that was dealing with the Westgate issue. But whatever was said and done during that period when we were all running around and saying who is wrong and who is right has never been implemented. That is why we are going through the same motions again now. We did not do anything about Westgate. We are now in Mpeketoni. We are in the same mode. So what I suggest is that as Kenyans, we must look at each other straight in the eye and say, look, we have problems in our security systems and we need to fix it.
Let me ask you pointedly, in the case of the Mpeketoni attack, what is unanswered? What shocks you? What don't you agree with in this whole, incident?
David, nowhere on earth can you have terrorists, thugs, thieves, robbers acting with impunity for 5 hours and there's no reaction. That to me is unacceptable. It's shocking, it's devastating, it is unacceptable.
Right.
That is one. Two, if we have a competent security intelligence system, we should have a process of gathering the intelligence that we need to secure our nation. This intelligence should be shared, and if it is shared, it is the onus of the security agencies to come up with contingency plans to be able to deal with specific threats.
Right.
Now, if this is not done, what happens is we have a knee-jerk reaction mode, whereby things happen somewhere in the country and nobody has thought about it, nobody knows what is supposed to be done. But more specifically, and what I think is most important for this country now, is that we don't have a unified command system that unifies all the security agencies so that they can react to a certain security threat in unison.
Right.
So what happens is, when this happens, we have a lot of security assets in this country. We have defense intelligence, who I'm sure have information about what happens in this country. We have the police. We have the administration police. We have NIS itself. You have the provincial administration. You have the county governments. You have assets. Even you and me are assets. But who is there to get all this and synthesize it and make it one?
Since you've been in the military, this matter was discussed after when you were attacked, the American embassy was attacked. When America was attacked 9/11, they formed that joint because there was a lot of discord among the intelligence systems in America. So they formed one, and they formed the Ministry of Internal Security, Homeland Security. Now in Kenya, the Americans tried, after we were attacked, to set up that unified command. But there are disagreements about who is to head. Is it military? Is it who? It has never been formed. For how long is it would be?
Well, Mutegi, if you look at our laws and the Constitution, there is very clear demarcation of who should do what within our security agencies. And that was done deliberately because of what you are talking about. However, having said that, we have not been conscientious as a nation and to confront the security issues that afflict us. We have been not serious with this issue. If we were, today, we will be talking of a national command center that is manned by whomever they put there. But it must be manned by security conscious and trained personnel. It must be manned 24 hours, and it must have access and communication access to all the other assets, security assets within the country. That is the agency that should come up with the contingency plans I'm talking about. If you go to some countries, you find that they have levels of threat. You know, others use colors, others use 1, 2, 3. It does not matter what it is. But you find out that if they have a threat level which is the second highest, you have some things that they close down areas of the country to preclude such activities like what happened in Mpeketoni. Here, we don't have that mechanism whereby we can preclude. But we only react.
My question to you is this. Why has not this happened? Why has it not happened? Because we've been talking about since
Westgate.
Well, before
Westgate. 1998.
1998. Why is that?
But I think I have answered.
Well, I think by the way that there could be mechanisms in place. I mean, arrangements are being made. There's formation of the Nairobi Metropolitan Command and all these strategies that would coordinate a tragic, event or incident like occurrence like happened in Mpeketoni. I mean, of course, arising from the experience at Westgate. I believe there could be systems that are being put together to respond to that, but which we may not know because those are security, matters. But let me ask you, Colonel Mwema, the Cabinet Secretary for Interior for Security yesterday said, linked the terrorist attack to domestic wrangling, political campaigns, rallies by court, which have been said to be inciting divisions and people to rise up against government and things like that. What connection can you possibly fetch, and what credibility do you attach to the minister's statement?
Firstly, let me reiterate that we must not politicize this. This is about Kenyans' lives, and politicizing it means that we don't respect the lives of the people who have died. So I don't want to go there. But however, I'll say this. This incident happened, and as usual, we started pointing fingers, which is unfortunate, very unfortunate. However, someone has come up and said, look, we did it. And in the absence of anybody else telling us, no, it is not that person who did it, it is this person, then that remains a fact. And therefore, we should now remove politics out of this. We should focus really on how we can remedy the situation so that this never happens again in our country.
But because of political feelings, the environment that is there, a number of Kenyans, some of them have sent us the messages saying they trust, they believe in what Olelenko said.
In fact,
there was a reaction in Ngong Road yesterday with some people burning tires because they believe that that attack was connected with the politics.
Well, you cannot totally divorce politics from any situation within a context of lives of anybody. Actually, politics is about your rise from birth to death. And everybody, the political statement you make first is when you cry after birth. And therefore, people will make their own assumptions. They will react. And if you look at our country today, it is divided in two sides. One side is with Jubilee, the other side is with CORD. And they all have their supporters. Yeah. And everybody will have will cast aspersions. And more often than not, it will be against each other.
Right.
And this is what we should guard against as a country. Because if we go that way, then we will never have time to sit down and soberly and talk about it and say, look, this is the problem. So we must try as much as possible. If I'm in CORD, I should tell my CORD people, please, let's not go this way. If I'm in Jubilee, I should tell my people, please, let us not go this way. Let us all calm down, find out what the problem is, and find a mechanism through which we can resolve these issues and find a solution which is lasting. David here talked about the government being in the process of doing something about it. Security is not a rehearsal. It's not something for tomorrow. It's something for yesterday. If it was going to happen, you and me want to see it, not hear about it. We want to see some action. We want to see things happening. If they are not happening, then there's something wrong. And the loss of one life to terrorists in this country is unacceptable. And terrorism is not a local thing. It happens everywhere across the country. If other countries have found mechanisms of dealing with it,
well, there is a lot
why can't we not do it here?
There's a lot of speculation, of course, about how this happened and whether there was sufficient police presence on the ground, whether there was intelligence about an impending attack, as well as the conditions or environment in Mpeketoni, the settlement there that there were domestic or ground situations which people are trying to explain away. I mean, everybody, so to speak, is trying to find explanation for this tragic incident. And there is somebody who was on the ground who had actually gone to Mpeketoni, conduct some business. There is a farmer there, and he just called us this to give us an experience of exactly what he knows, what he witnessed. In fact, his account should shed a bit of light on exactly what what conversation should be having nationally. I don't know whether he's online. Charles Gishimu, are you online?
Yes, Makali, I'm online.
Hi, Charles.
I'm fine, thank you.
How are you this morning?
I'm okay, a bit shaken, but I'm okay.
You say that you were in Mpeketoni. Can you give us an account of what transpired on Sunday? Because you say you were right there during the day until this attack happened. Can you give us sort of in a short summary what transpired or what you know?
Yes, I arrived in Mpeketoni at about 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon. And normally when I'm in Mpeketoni, I normally stay in the farmer's guest hotel.
Right.
So that's where I went as usual. But the first thing I noticed was there was a lot of presence of GSU paramilitary group. So to my ability, I think they must have had intelligence something was going to happen. So, and because it was on a Sunday, there was a lot of people. It's a small town. There was a lot of people. Normally, they come from Mashambani. This is the main town.
Right.
So a lot of people are there. So the incident started at about 8:30 p.m. That's where we had gunshots.
Yes.
Yeah, but because a lot of people actually thought it was fireworks.
Right.
But that's when all of a sudden, people started running here and there. Then we noticed maybe it was something serious.
Right.
And we came to learn that the guys had hit the police station first. That's where they started. So
Let me ask
for
you,
me, I was in the
Bishima,
hotel, so I had to, that was the only place we could hide.
where were you?
I was in the hotel, Farmer's Guest House.
Was that hotel attacked?
Oh yeah, it's been razed down. Everything was razed down. The owner was shot dead. Everything was razed down. All hotels, maybe one hotel was left standing.
So how did you escape from that attack? What transpired? At what point did you escape?
Okay, when we hid in the room, those guys, they were Al-Shabaab. They came, shouting. I don't know what they were saying in Arabic, but they were shouting. They were all over the road. And what they did is they started from, there's a pylon where it holds the telecommunication.
Right.
I think that's the first point they wanted to bring down, although they did not manage to do that. So, and the hotel is next to the pylon whereby I think the Safaricom telecommunication is there.
Mass, yes.
So, when we had that, we all hid in the rooms. Then they came into the hotel, and they had, I don't know what it is. I think there are these military things where they throw petrol. It's like a flame torture.
Yes.
So they throw petrol and everything lights up. So they lit up the car, the owner's car. The mzee who owns the hotel, the car was outside.
Yes.
They lit it up. Then the hotel itself, where the restaurant is, sort of touched. So they lit it up as well.
Let me ask you,
And,
there has been
yes.
a claim that there wasn't adequate security, but you are saying that during the day you saw GSU patrolling the town.
Yes, they were there.
In what numbers?
Because they came in, when I came into the restaurant, they were there, and some of them were eating in the restaurant.
Right.
So there were about 20 paramilitary guys there. So for me personally, I believe the intelligence was there. So where the guys went at night, that's what should be asked. Where did they go?
Okay,
Because,
let me just,
when
for
we were
our
attacked
purposes,
from
what
8:30
do you live? Excuse me. Do you live in Mpeketoni, or do you work there?
No, for me, I normally go to Mpeketoni. I run a cafe here in Nairobi, but I normally go there. I bought an acre of land. I normally go there. I was going there to plant watermelons.
Right.
So that's why I arrived on Sunday at 2:30.
Yes.
Yes.
So there were
I was
Sunday
meant to do
afternoon was
planting
normal. There were
yesterday
police
morning,
patrol.
actually.
There were police on patrol.
Yes.
But at night, when this happened, you took cover. You did not see a lot of police presence at night.
There was nothing. Those guys, they literally took the town over. And the most scary thing, Mutegi and Makali, is that when you are there and you are trying to tweet like we were trying to tweet in Nairobi, and they are all saying that they send helicopters. But from 8:30 to 3 p.m. in the morning, because that was the last group of Al-Shabaab, they left at 3 a.m. in the morning. Nobody came. And like they are slaughtered, they burned the place, they start the fire so that people can come out of the rooms. You are choking with smoke, then they shoot you down.
Okay, let me just help us to understand this. How would you describe the attackers? You say they are Al-Shabaab. What convinces you to think so?
The way they are dressed. They are normally dressed, they are turbans, they are flag. Because when the first floor was burned up, we ran all the way up. The hotel was not finished, so there is a place, there are rooms which are not finished. And from there you could see them on the road. And they have the Al-Shabaab flag.
They had a flag?
Yes. Oh, yeah, they were running, they were Al-Shabaab.
Okay.
Because even when they are telling you to open up, they are saying, we are the Al-Shabaab, we have come to revenge. You have to tell your government to take the military out of Somali.
They were saying such things?
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Charles Gishimu there, who was in Mpeketoni. He called us this morning. He landed back in Nairobi at 1:30 a.m. With his testimony of what he saw transpiring. Colonel Mwema, it looks to me that either the response was inadequate, that there must have been a lapse. If indeed there were patrols, there must have been some sort of awareness that there were security issues.
You know, David, the work of being in any of the security agencies of a nation is a sacrifice to the nation. You are giving service to your nation and you do it selflessly. Now, it means commitment, and it means that you must not do it as a job, but you should do it with compassion. It means selflessness. Now, the moment you create security agencies and populate them with people who are not committed, then you have a problem from there. Because whatever you give them, if there is no commitment, even if you give them the best assets in the world to deal with issues as these, they will not commit. So if the intelligence was there, and as this gentleman says, that the GSUs were there during the day, it means that the command structure, the local command structure of the security agencies in Mpeketoni failed, because they did not come up with an operational plan to make sure that there was surveillance, there was vigilance throughout the period. My guess would be that someone went to watch soccer or something. And it also seems like the terrorists knew what was happening. They had infiltrated our system, maybe, I'm just speculating, so that they knew where our assets were at all the time. They may have even monitored those GSU forces that were seen during the day in Mpeketoni. And if they did, then they were ahead of us in the game, because they knew what we were doing. We didn't know what they were doing. We didn't know where they were. There are reports that 2 matatus were hijacked, and the report was made, and that no action was taken. That is a lapse.
Yes.
That is a serious lapse.
That is where the problem starts, because 2 matatus were hijacked in the course of the day.
There is a report, and then there is no action for a period, and there is no action for a period of 1.5 hours. That is unacceptable, because if you don't deal with the small things, then they become bigger and bigger as they go on. And a security issue is not something you can sit and wait. That is where commitment again comes in, compassion for the job. You must be selfless. You must give your life for us to be able to sit.
Is it a matter of commitment, or sometimes you meet security people who are really committed to do their work, but they don't have the capacity to deal with the challenges, the threats? For example, no vehicles, they can't move. The manpower is small, because maybe they've deployed 12 policemen in a police post like that, who cannot, parry off an attack by armed people, like armed attackers.
I'm not saying commitment can be the panacea for everything. I'm saying the starting point. Then after that, you must give them the equipment that they require to be able to do the job. And you must also give them adequate personnel and equipment. If you have about 40-50 armed people coming into a place whereby you have 10-15 soldiers, and who are caught unawares, it is highly unlikely that they'll be able to deal with the situation. And therefore, we go back to what I said earlier. There must be a contingency plan for these things. To respond to these things, because they are there and they are known. And so if you don't have that, you don't work backwards and have a strategy for the whole country, whereby you say, if this happens here, and that is why in the military you have something known as war games. You go there and create situations whereby people react. In a war game situation, so that when it ever happens in real time, then you know what to do about it. But in this case, there seems to have been serious lapses that created momentum for the terrorists. And I think that there's also something else we need to tell our viewers. You see, Al-Shabaab are terrorists, but they also become an insurgency kind of a thing. And because if you look at insurgency, it has levels. You start with the lowest level, which is subversion, And in our case, if you look, that is the level whereby you are radicalizing the youth and so forth and so forth. That is trying to create a critical mass to move with you as you do your dirty, evil things in terrorism. So they are mixing the two, insurgency and terrorism. So after that stage, then you come to where you are hitting small targets. What we've been seeing in Nairobi, in Mombasa.
Yeah.
Then you come to almost the final stage, whereby you are now doing bigger operations, which are more coordinated.
Yeah.
And then the end, you end up with something like Boko Haram taking part of the country.
Yeah.
And so we must take this very serious. It's not a joke anymore. It's something that is a national crisis.
The argument that the attackers, if they are Shabab indeed, were trying to exploit the current political divisions to target particular, to look for a target that would intensify the animosity that is already being generated by the political heat. In fact, that is what is achieved, because clearly people and their responses are almost so to speak predictable. People have dug into their corners and say, look, this is leading up to this.
Just like they were attacking Christians, so that now you see Muslims and Christians
can go into conflict.
Now they attack a certain ethnic group. So
in fact, the casualties, mainly the casualties in that attack, let's be frank, they were mainly Kikuyu adult men.
The majority of people who live there.
Yeah, even though that settlement is populated mainly, the settlers there by Kikuyus, but the other communities also resident there. But the targets were these particular adults or whatever. And the discriminatory killings raise very significant issues. Is that an attempt to, provoke or trigger more conflict within the country and render this country therefore completely banana?
Actually, any strategist or tactician in any forum, be it terrorist or the military or whatever, would almost certainly exploit such a situation. And I'm sure this is what they're doing. And what they are doing, in my view, is that they know our leadership is from Central Kenya in this country.
Right.
And they almost hold them responsible for what is happening in Somalia. And that is, they say that those are the people holding power, so they are making sure that the forces in Somalia do not leave. So I think they strategized and said, look, if we hit Mpeketoni, which is populated by mostly people from Central Kenya, then we will be hitting at the center of government. Yeah. And that way, they also strategize that by hitting the center of government, then there will be a split between the CORD wing and the Jubilee wing, which means we will polarize the country further. And when you are polarized, you are weaker and a softer target for the terrorists. So strategically, this is a serious blow. And that is why I'm still saying we must sit down and find out what is happening and come up with tangible solutions to this problem. Because it's going to be there, we can't wish it away. It has to be dealt with and dealt with head on.
Let me go back to the question of accountability and the statement made by Olelenko. Olelenko is saying that this thing they have crossed the red line. And me arguing that he should be only responsible, and Makali saying, no, this guy is just a mouthpiece, that he's not responsible for the statement. What do you think? That he was reading a statement from a meeting.
The first thing I want to say is that if I'm not a driver, you can't give me a car to drive. It's difficult. I can't drive it because I don't even know how to deal with it. and therefore, whatever statements are made or not, my view is that we need to get serious with the security in this country. It is not a personal issue. It is not a matter of one tribe or another tribe or the CORD or Jubilee. It is a national issue whereby Kenyans are unfortunately losing their lives. That is, for me, a very serious matter.
And actually, Colonel, the truth is this.
Yes.
Who is competent to be an interior or security minister in charge of security? Because even if you look at the past ministers, they were never security or trained military or police from that professional line. And so people will always call to question the qualifications of the person. But in fact, that's what I was arguing in the Mutegi. The buck stops with the people in charge of the instruments of force. Whether it's the police, is the inspector general, whether it's the army, is the chief of defense forces.
Intelligence is
no, it doesn't.
And the minister is only a coordinating face, civilian face to people who are armed.
No.
So should we be calling for...
I think you have a misplaced view.
Right. Let me hear now the perspective of a security man.
Of that problem. Right. You see, the cabinet secretary in charge of internal security, must instill confidence to the people with those arms, firstly.
Yes.
They must look at him and say,
and
yes.
Respect him
and instill confidence and motivation throughout, up to the last person.
Yes.
That is number one. He should also instill confidence in you and me. Everybody in this country should say, yes, huyu anatosha. If that is not there, then the job is very difficult. So it doesn't matter who you put there. As long as they command that, then they have the confidence of Kenyans and the people who are holding those arms under them. That is solved. But then, when it comes to security, internal security issues, the buck stops with the minister. The minister is the one who is in charge of everybody. Even these other people you're talking about, the IG is not under the minister. He is not controlled by anybody according to the constitution.
That is the problem. That's what I'm saying. I mean, in fact, that is what I'm saying. Whether indeed we should be blaming the minister, because those security chiefs, whether it's NIS, Director General, or the Inspector General Police, or the Chief of Defense Forces, or Armed Forces, they are not answerable to the minister.
They are not.
So what level of responsibility should the minister take? Or should we be talking about a shake-up of the chiefs of those organs? Himself.
You see, there lies the problem.
Yeah.
We gave ourselves a constitution in 2010. And do you remember, during that period I was involved in that process?
Yes.
If you remember, the view was that the executive was misusing the NIS,
yes,
and the police, and the police. And so the crafters of the constitution made sure that there was that was delinked. But then when they delinked that, they also created the Ministry of Internal Security, whereby the minister is actually is just there. He has no control over the forces down there. And this is why I'm saying it is time we sat down and we looked at the structures even. Not only the forces themselves, but the structure, the command structure.
Right.
How can we make it more responsive? How can we make it more where a situation whereby the minister has a role to play when it comes to security issues? Now, the minister was the president, His Excellency the President has put the minister directly in charge of this operation. Now, legally, how is he going to do it? These are questions that need to be answered.
Yeah. So you think that the minister ought to take responsibility?
He used to take responsibility, but then when you look at the other side of the coin...
And let's face it, being a Kenyan and a person who is vast in security matters, does the minister attract your confidence?
No, he doesn't, personally.
What is his performance like so far?
I don't want to go into the details of pointing figures again, because if we start then we will point, and we will not get anywhere. Suffice it to say that we need someone who can give us confidence as Kenyans, and we say, yes, we have someone in charge.
Of course, I will not ask you to name that person because that's a complicated matter, but let me go back.
I can never be the appointing officer.
As we finish this discussion, obviously we cannot escape from the point that there is this attack and the insecurity is already being connected to the political pressures for national dialogue and so forth. First of all, in your capacity as Secretary General now, leaving out the security matters, just 2 minutes of your politics. As Secretary General of New Food Kenya, which is part of the Amani coalition, right?
Yes.
You have not been outspoken on the matter of the national dialogue, calls by Code for National Dialogue, resistance by Jubilee and so forth. What do you think ought to happen in the circumstances? Because this has now been dragged into this matter.
Well, our party position is this. We support national dialogue. It is an important tool because dialogue is not weakness. Dialogue is, dialogue is first getting the facts correct. When you dialogue, you may sit on that side, I sit on this side, but there should be experts here seated there and a moderator who will tell us, look, you have been talking about insecurity. These are the facts. You are talking about corruption. These are the facts. You are talking about tribalism. These are the facts. Right. You are talking about high cost of living. These are the facts. Then when we have the facts, then we can now dialogue. Right. But you cannot dialogue in a vacuum whereby you have no facts. That is number one. But this dialogue cannot be done in a politically polarized climate or environment. So what we need to do as a nation is tone down the rhetoric and find a way of sitting down and talking without preconditions. Because even when you are dialoguing, you don't come up with an agenda. The agenda is developed on the table. You sit down to dialogue. And dialogue is about understanding and engaging, and the spirit of nationalism must be there.
We need that. It seems like we need a mediator. And who is that? You need somebody to sit in between.
Well, Mr. Mutegi, in this country, we have very many mediators, people of respect and regard. We don't have to go outside to look for a mediator.
The other time we failed, we got Kofi Annan.
Yeah, we failed because at that point in time,
it was total conflict.
It was total conflict.
But in the circumstances now,
but now I think we should.
So, in your view, Court should stop the push, for conditional push for the rallies, and Jubilee should say, let's have a dialogue, and somehow meet somewhere. Or how do you get out of this?
The way to get out of this, in my view, is CORD is raising fundamental issues that affect and resonate with the people in the grassroots, because they are feeling it, and you can't take that away. So they have valid issues that they are raising. Now, however, they are raising them in a manner that is combative.
Yes, combative. Yes.
Combative. Now, on the other side, Jubilee knows these issues are there, but they want to hope that they can sweep them under the carpet. They cannot go away. So somewhere along the line, every side must calm down and meet somewhere in between for the sake of our country.
Accommodation. All right, just as your last word, I mean, if you were to prescribe a solution, or if you were to throw out some suggestions to the government, to anybody who cares to listen, in terms of sorting out our security issue, which is really the thrust of our discussion this morning, what would be the 2-3 things that you think ought to be done to prevent, first, recurrence of this kind of attacks, and 2, secure the country generally, so we are on the same, make this country a little more secure, or improve our security?
The first thing I would do, if I had the power to, is to find out exactly what happened. Not only Mpeketoni, but also Westgate. Because there lies the problem. Now, if we can now get the nuts and bolts of what happened and what went wrong, then we can now sit down and say, we are going to solve it this way. However, in doing so, without a national coordinating agency of all the security agencies, whereby all information can be analyzed, can be disseminated, and if there is a problem, we know who to call, we know what to do, we have a contingency plan, we have everything in place, we are not going to be safe. And the second thing I want to say, there is this issue that came up with the new constitution, where the more degrees and PhDs you have, the better you are in getting things done.
Yes.
I think that has also derailed us, because there are things known as experience, and there is commitment, and other things that come into the play when you come to security issues. A degree will never be able to show you how to do certain things in the security circles. And therefore, we must maybe put less emphasis on some of these things and give the tried and tested persons an opportunity to be able to serve in the security agencies. And also, we need to motivate our security agencies. I'm talking mainly about now the National Police Service. As David aptly put it, there is dire need for equipment, there's dire need for housing, there's dire need for raising morale, there's dire need for salaries to be increased. And numbers to be increased. But just as an example, if you look at investigation discovery and look at the cases that were being done in the US in the 80s and the 90s, and you look at the labs that they have to deal with the evidence gathering and so forth, I mean, they are light years ahead of us, 30 years down the line. We don't even have a criminal lab in this country. How do you then start getting evidence? Even when we are running to capture these guys, we may capture them, they may be among us. How do we know that they are the ones? We have to look into these things, and security is something that we cannot play around with.
All right, thank you, Colonel Benjamin Mwema. man well versed in security, former military man. Well, on the way outside but inside, if I may say so, for sharing your views on this very potent subject of security and the terror attack on, well, others say it wasn't terrorism, others say the enemy is within. Whoever it was, we still need to find out and get the solutions. And the government is up to it, trying to find out. So we hope to hear the update on that. So far, 56, numbers are 56, 53 people dead. A very sad chapter in our country. Let's keep talking.